Breaking news as we welcome you into NFL Live, and thank goodness we've got Sal Pal to help us out with all of it. He's at Browns-Eagles practice today, live from there. And Sal, some big news coming out of that Browns quarterback room. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, here's the latest breaking news. Let's get right to it. Shedeur Sanders, according to the Cleveland Browns statement, has a oblique strain. He suffered that in warm-ups this morning here at the joint practices with the Philadelphia Eagles. The exact statement says, quote, update from the Browns. Further medical testing and examination of Shedeur Sanders revealed an oblique strain. He is considered day-to-day. Won't practice Thursday in the joint practices with the Philadelphia Eagles, and is unlikely to play in the game Saturday across the street at Lincoln Financial Field. Now, here's the timeline, Laura. This morning, out on the practice field at NovaCare, we watched Shedeur Sanders warm up. He had every intention of going out there and joining the quarterbacks of the Cleveland Browns to practice, joint practice with the Philadelphia Eagles. Then he went over to Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, who told me after practice that Sanders complained of soreness or tightness in his oblique, and Stefanski pulled him out. He wanted him to practice against the Eagles. So after practice, I got a chance to talk to 40-year-old Joe Flacco, who's right now number one on the depth chart, about how Shedeur Sanders is handling the ups and downs of being injured, not being able to practice, starring in a role against the Panthers in his first preseason game. How is he handling the spotlight? Here is Joe Flacco's answer. Listen to this.
Shedeur does a great job with that. I mean, I think I think he's been around it a good amount, so he knows how to handle it and stay even and not really let it affect him. So,
what does this Browns team got to do offensively to be better than they were last year, Joe?
I think we just got to be physical and use that physicality to our advantage. I think anytime you want to be good on offense in this league, it starts with that. It starts with the guys up front and giving them the ability to play fast and play physical.
Joe Flacco, as we know, grew up about 8 miles over the Walt Whitman Bridge in Audubon, New Jersey. His wife and children were here today. He's 40. He's got a Super Bowl MVP. Doesn't need the practice, but he was out there today. Definitely doesn't need the preseason. He won't be playing in the preseason game for the Browns. So we will see, obviously, a lot of Dillon Gabriel, who was out there today, the rookie from Oregon, and we will definitely see Kenny Pickett once he gets healthy. But no Shedeur Sanders, oblique strain, not good for the rookie out of Colorado.
All right, thanks so much, Sal Pal. The latest there, a lot to unpack as we welcome you into the show. We got Meg Tannenbaum here, as well as Mina Kimes and Peter Schrager joining us too. Mike T, how do you think this injury affects Shedeur Sanders? The Browns are trying to manage this quarterback room, get people reps, and now he's hurt.
Yeah, Laura, there's a lot to unpack here. So first of all, it doesn't seem serious, which is great. So we could take IR off the table, which would end his season. It's too bad because Shedeur played very well against the Panthers. They still have one more preseason game against the Rams to evaluate. But now Dillon Gabriel, will he play? He was the third-round pick. He'll hopefully get an opportunity. But it just seems like this is all trending towards, hey, we have Joe Flacco, the ultimate bridge quarterback at 40 years old. But it's really too bad because I thought Shedeur was very encouraging in the first game. But one of the things about being a pro quarterback, guys, is you have to be durable. And hopefully this is just a small bump in the road. But any chance he may have had to start, which was probably a long shot, is obviously greatly diminished by not playing.
Yeah, I think it matters in two ways. One, the competition aspect, which I see more about QB2 backing up Joe Flacco. He could potentially lose some ground to Dillon Gabriel just by not being available in this game. And then the other is development. These reps matter a lot for these young quarterbacks. I thought Shedeur was really impressive in his first start. I was impressed by his accuracy, his touch, some of the pocket movement he showed, the dig from near his own end zone, the touchdown come to mind. But I also thought there were things he needed to work on, bailing on muddy pockets in the way he did in college. And one of the things that young quarterbacks have to learn when they come to the league, NFL speed is different from college speed. He can't go backwards the way he did a couple times in this game. He knows that. His coaches tell him that. But he has to play to learn that and to stop, sort of get those habits out of his system. So the more he plays, the better. It's going to make him a better quarterback.
Yeah, look, I've been called a hater for saying that I don't think he's got a shot of winning this quarterback one, and it's nothing to do with me. It was that he was fourth on the depth chart, and I thought Friday night was sublime. I thought he was fantastic. And then I wake up in the morning and I'm texting with some sources around the team They're like, no, he showed signs of progress, and then we get the depth chart, and he was 4th anyway. It seriously impacts any long shot chance he had of being QB1 not being available for these practices. Meanwhile, it's next man up, and Dillon Gabriel was healthy. Dillon Gabriel was thrown, and he's going to get his opportunity in this preseason game, which is a week 2 preseason game against the Eagles, which might not feel significant at all. But to Mina's point, if you've got your 2 veteran quarterbacks, one of them unavailable, one of them likely not going to play, and then you got your 2 rookie quarterbacks, this is a real opportunity for, in the same field, against the same defense, against the same stacked odds, Shedeur to outshine Dillon Gabriel. Well, over the 2-day period, it looks like Dillon Gabriel is going to get that opportunity and not Shedeur.
Yeah, it's interesting because you wondered what maybe Kenny Pickett or Dillon Gabriel thought as they watched Shedeur play really well. To Peter's point, now we get to see what Dillon Gabriel brings to the table. We'll see when Pickett gets healthy. All right, let's talk Jalen Hurts. He's taken some big strides, and it led to a Super Bowl last season. Compared to his first 4 seasons, his total QBR increased. His touchdown to interception ratio almost doubled, and his completion percentage over expectation rose to over 6%. The Eagles, like most NFL teams, rise and fall with the performance of the guy under center. Here's Seth Wickersham on how Jalen Hurts and other quarterbacks find an illusion of control among chaos.
Hurts goes back. He is launching it deep downfield, and it bounces. And the seconds are gone. And the Kansas City Chiefs have won another Super Bowl.
In the lead up to Super Bowl 59, there was a question hovering over Jalen Hurts. Could he do it? Could he make the throws when it mattered most?
He fires. He completes it. Touchdown!
Could he not just match the moment, but rise above it and maybe redefine it, make it his own?
Ain't none of this the promise. So what the you gonna do with your mama right now? What you gonna do with your mama right now?
Professional football teams are almost reverse engineered to support their most valuable players, from scheme to psychology. But at some point, quarterbacks are alone with a question. Can I do it? You won't know it until you do it, and just because you do it once or twice or for 12 years, it buys you nothing. It is no assurance that you'll come through the next time. Just look at Tom Brady. He took a nap before his first Super Bowl. He didn't know better. He didn't know what it might feel like to lose on the biggest stage. He was too innocent. By his last Super Bowl, as a champion many times over, he was nearly sleepless the night before the game, trying to quiet doubts and convince himself that yet again he was worthy of the label, the greatest.
Let's go! Turn this up!
Enter Jalen Hurts. He is not just one of the smartest and savviest quarterbacks in the NFL, a star who remarkably seems to read the room as well as he reads defenses.
Hurts keeps fighting for the end zone. What a run!
There is no stage too big for Jalen Hurts.
When he speaks, he sounds like a Zen philosopher, like the outer reaches of his performance are directly tied to the conservative spirit of his sound bites.
Well, what is your mission? Why are you doing this? I'm doing it to win.
The Philadelphia Eagles have won Super Bowl 59.
To win at the level he's now won at, Hurts had to rely on something more than skill set or work ethic or even hunger. He had to make a world, one in which the qualities he brought to the game, if mastered, were not lacking something, but were more than enough if taken to their limits. Hurts dove into his mechanics, trying to be more fluid with his motion and quicker from read to release. He focused on leadership techniques, saying his approach was something he had never had a label for. He hired an all-women management team at Clutch Sports Group and completed his master's degree from Oklahoma in 2023.
He is going deep, and it is caught. Touchdown!
He did something almost as difficult as making the impossible throw at the highest leverage moment. He bet on the story he told himself about himself.
Whew. Okay, the voice you just heard, Seth Wickersham, joining us now. Seth, that was an essay from your book, American Kings, a biography of the quarterback. I can't wait to read it. It will be released in September. Why is that illusion of control that you talked about there and so eloquently illustrated, why is that so important for a quarterback?
Well, okay, so one of the most interesting things that I learned, one of the most fascinating things I learned in the process of trying to amass as much knowledge as I humanly could about quarterbacks is how much two very basic emotions, fear and pressure, affect them. And we think that they don't. We think that, like, they say, hey, we ignore the noise, but they're very real. And I think that how quarterbacks choose to handle those things, fear, pressure, doubt, is unbelievably interesting. Like, I talked to Joe Burrow about it, and he talked about what he needs to do from a mental standpoint to get to the point where when he walks on the field, there are no doubts in his mind. And it's borderline sociopathic. And I found it interesting that that's the world that they have to live in, because, even though we talk about all the throws and the reads and all of these things, they are left alone wondering if they can do it. And the questions that we often ask from the outside, more than they want to admit, are the same ones that they're asking on the inside.
It's such a fascinating peel back of the curtain. Mike T, Jalen Hurts coming off winning a Super Bowl. What do you think this year looks like for Jalen Hurts as he continues to build on that success? Because there's still, the fascinating thing, he could be the Super Bowl MVP. There's still some things that could get better.
Yeah, their passing attack could get a lot better. If we were opposing the Philadelphia Eagles, I think job 1, 2, and 3 would be stop Saquon Barkley. And you look at it a year ago, they were 29th in passing yards per game. He was sacked too many times. And Jalen Hurts is one of my favorite players for a lot of reasons Seth talked about, but he came out in the second round, the expression tape sets the floor and character sets the ceiling. His first year, his completion percentage was 52%. It went up to 68%. He led the NFL last year in completions above expectations, meaning he took a weakness and made it a strength. And now what they have to do is take that floor and say, hey, you know what? If they want to take Saquon Barkley and go 8-man spacing, I could beat you with my arm. If they do that, literally, they will be unstoppable.
Yeah, Peter, something we've always mentioned when talking about the success of this Eagles offense is their offensive line. Now they're dealing with injuries, right? The injury to Landon Dickerson. How concerned are you about this Eagles O-line unit?
Look, we talk about Jeff Stoutland a lot, who's universally considered the best offensive line coach. And we know Sal Pao was on the morning show Get Up today talking about Stoutland U, how it's next man up, and they love Steen. The truth of the matter is Landon Dickerson's a Pro Bowler. He's probably the best at what he does. And then you also lose Mekhi Becton, and now you're 2 years removed from losing Jason Kelce. Is it next? There are reasons to at least wonder. That said, this is the team that can handle that stuff. And last year they had 28 different offensive line combinations over the course of the season. Seth was talking about Jalen Hurts' ability to overcome fear and doubt. What amazes me about the Eagles is their ability to adapt to injuries and find the next person to step up. I'm not going to say I have no doubt, but if there's any team that's equipped to handle with a major blow during the August month, it is them.
Yeah, I think I would say it mildly concerns me because, as Peter alluded to, you have a lot of change in one place, right? The only change in this entire Eagles offense is Mekhi Becton leaving, being replaced by Tyler Steen. But now you potentially have another change of Landon Dickerson. And then when those injuries start to pile up, Mike, you know this, in the same position group, that's when you start to get a little nervous. It also concerns me for Hurts in particular, because if I had to point to one thing that I feel like he struggles with at times, it is interior pressure when he gets flushed out of the pocket. I think he's gotten a lot better at that. As Seth described, he's gotten better every year in the NFL. It's, I think, maybe one of his most impressive attributes. But if the Eagles go into this season with, new players on the interior of the offensive line, they face a challenging pass rush up the middle, I would get a little bit worried about how he handles that.
Yeah, Seth, you could speak to this. He loves a challenge, doesn't he? Jalen Hurts in his own way.
I think that one of the things that's interesting to me about him is just that he's not a great quarterback all the time. And yet he has proven that he can raise his level of play to a gear that's very, very rare. But that's, as we've learned, just because you do it once doesn't mean that you have the internal reassurance that you can do it again.
How crazy is it that probably the two best games of his NFL career are Super Bowl? What kind of mental makeup? Obviously what you write about.
He did something similar even in college, too. It was like no matter what the moment was, the bigger it got, the better he was. By the way, Seth Wickersham's American Kings, a biography of the quarterback, is available for pre-order now wherever books are sold. Don't miss it. That's what the cover looks like.